So I've got my 36-week midwife appointment coming up this week, and for that appointment I've got to have all my birth preferences that I've got so far sort of laid out and written down for us to go through, because it's getting to the squeaky bum time. So me and James sat down this morning, we went through it, we're feeling quite happy, but we know that after this conversation this week with my midwife that things might change slightly, or we might need to do a bit more research, or I might have missed something, but for now we feel good. So I thought this would be a really good time to just sit down, talk about it, talk about why I've picked these, and then I could do one later down the line of maybe where I've adapted it. I think the most... I've done loads of research, I've read my books, and if anything's felt right, I've just been adding it to a list on our phone. But I understand that these are preferences and not a plan, and at the end of the day, my baby's health is the most important thing. So if I have to chuck these all out the window to make sure my baby's healthy, I will do. But this is what I'd like to advocate for if I have that control, basically. And this is why I'm calling it preferences and not a plan, because I know no birth and no labour is ever going to go exactly to plan or as you had pictured in your head. Now, I am currently with the home birth team, so my midwife appointment will be at my house, which is lovely. I like the idea of using all different rooms in my house, but I think the main room is going to be our front room. It's dark blue, it's got loads of fairy lights, TV, speakers, loads of places for me to lean. It just feels like a really calming room, and my midwife actually has been a couple of times to our house and she's like, this feels like a really, really nice space. And that sort of like low lighting, fairy lights, maybe having a funny film on or some good music, I know that's going to get my oxytocin flowing to help with and support my labour. So I debated also getting or renting a birthing pool, because I've watched so many home birth vlogs and I've had so many positive things about having a water birth, but I've just realised I am not a water baby. Like, I do not have a Sunday bath to relax myself, whereas I have friends, and my boyfriend James, he loves a bath. Like, that is what makes him feel so calm and zen, and it's his time. I want to give birth on dry land, so that is a no. I instead will potentially have a bath if I do want some time in water to help with some of the initial pain, but I just don't like the idea of sitting in the water when the baby comes. It just doesn't feel right for me. So that is a definite. And with that, I also want the ability to like walk around the house. I feel like movement feels more important than being in the water. So the other thing I want to advocate for is no vaginal examination. So what they do is a midwife would usually put her fingers up your fanny, and they would go, oh, you're 4 centimetres dilated, or you're 5 centimetres dilated. And in fact, that is all just a guess, because it's just about how many fingers she can fit up there. But 2, it doesn't indicate how long your labour's going to be, or how long you're going to be in labour for, or how your labour's progressing. So I do not want any vaginal examinations. I want my body and me and my midwife to work together to understand what part of my labour I'm at. For me, someone shoving their fingers up my fanny while I'm probably in pain and trying to focus on being calm is going to throw me off and make me tense up, feel uncomfortable, potentially be painful, I don't know. So that's a no for me. And just to add to that, if your oxytocin stops flowing, your labour could actually slow down. So anything that could potentially make me feel uncomfortable, stop my oxytocin and slow down labour, is a no for me as well. Also, unless the risks outweigh the benefits, I think that makes sense, I don't want an induction. I'd like to avoid an induction if possible, and that includes a cervical sweep. I want my baby to come when they're ready. Now, because I'm high risk, if I continue to manage my diabetes through diet, I've been told by the consultant midwife that I'll be allowed to go up to 40 weeks plus 6 days until they'll start having a more serious conversation with me. However, I'm going to see nearer the time what that looks like, because I mean, some babies come at 42 weeks and they're absolutely fine. I want my baby to be ready and baked to come out. But again, if something happens and it's like we really need to get things going, like we're worried about the baby, then I'll obviously reconsider this. Now, pain relief's a really funny one. Like, I don't think I've got a great pain threshold, but then this morning when we were going through this, James said he thinks I do. We'll see about that on the day. But epidurals have always freaked me the hell out. And if I do have a home birth, if that is possible, then that isn't something that they can provide. However, they do provide gas and air. So I'm really open to trying gas and air. I'm looking to buy or rent a TENS machine. And then there's the pool. I'm doing a lot of research on breathing techniques through hypnobirthing, etc. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to manage it in that kind of way. But again, let's see what happens. If I end up in hospital, something happens, I have to have a C-section or something, I don't know. But ideally, I'd like to avoid any pain relief and accept gas and air. From like a drug perspective, should we say. One of the biggest things I have been worrying about is tearing if I have a natural birth. And I've done some research and seen quite a lot about doing like a perinium compress. So sort of getting like a warm flannel or cloth and putting pressure on your perinium, which is the bit of skin between your bum and your vag, and holding it there. And what it's meant to do is relieve some of the pressure, but also help the baby descend slower so they don't shoot out, which is what in most cases causes the tearing. So that's something that I would really like to try, and I've said to James it'd be great if he could get involved in that, because it'd probably be more comfortable if he's holding a warm flannel next to my fanny. Positions, I do not want to be on my back when I give birth. I want to be UFO in the hypnobirthing world, they call it that. Upright, front, open. So I want to be on like all fours. I want to be stood up. I want gravity to be able to take over and pull the baby down naturally and help with that. I don't want to be on my back. And then going into like baby's arrival, the most important thing for me is that instant skin to skin. So as soon as the baby comes out, I want them placed directly on my bare skin, on my chest, and have that golden hour with them. If for some reason I'm not able to do that, then this will instead be James having that golden hour and skin to skin. But ideally it would be me, because it helps stabilise the baby's heart rate, stabilises their breathing, stabilises their temperature, reduces stress for the baby, boosts milk supply, helps with bonding, and most importantly, because I've got gestational diabetes, it helps normalise their blood sugar levels. So there's like, this is just a few of the benefits. So this is like so important, and I really hope it's going to be me, because I really want to breastfeed as well. And also I think it gets your oxytocin flowing, which helps to get the placenta out as well, if I remember rightly. Now, on top of this, I want delayed cord clamping, but not just like the NHS version of delayed cord clamping. I want to make sure that the cord is completely white and floppy before James cuts it, because that's the other preference, is that James cuts the cord. Now, this helps ensure complete placental transfusion. And that means like all the blood, oxygen and nutrients have gone from the placenta into the baby. Now, the benefits of this are, and sorry, I am reading these off. It supports early circulation. I have the worst circulation in the world, so if I can help my baby have better circulation, I'm there for it. They get 30% blood volume increase. It boosts their iron stores, prevents anemia, helps with brain development, and helps their immune system. And that is just, again, a few of the benefits. So that is on the list, and James, I said to him, do not cut that cord until it's white and floppy. The other thing that my midwife is bringing for me for this appointment, she's bringing me a colostrum collecting kit. Now, colostrum is like this thick yellowish liquid that you get when you're pregnant around your third trimester, but it's also the before you start producing proper milk after the baby's born, you produce colostrum. Now, this is known as like liquid gold. It has a higher amount of antibodies to help fight sickness. It's easy to digest for the newborns, and it's only small portions, and they only need small portions when they're first born until your milk comes in. It's a natural laxative which helps baby pass its first stools. It also, most importantly, because I've had gestational diabetes, helps regulate and stabilise the blood sugar levels of the baby, and this is critical when you've had gestational diabetes, because the baby's more likely to face higher risk of low blood sugar after birth. So anything that I can do to help with this is important. So from 37 weeks, they say you can start seeing if you can collect colostrum. So I'm going to try and do that. I've actually had some coming out my nipples already. Like about a month ago there was quite a lot, and then recently it's like died down a bit, so fingers crossed I can still get some out. But the reason they tell you to not start till after 37 weeks is because it can stimulate early labour, I think. If I struggle to breastfeed initially with the baby, I really don't want them to be fed formula. So if I've already got some frozen colostrum that the baby can be given instead, they still get all the benefits from it. Yeah, so that is the plan. We haven't bought any formula, we haven't bought any bottles, because I really am determined to breastfeed. But if the worst comes to worst, Amazon next day delivery, it will be. I really don't like talking about this because it feels like such a horrible moment, and yeah. If the baby has to be resuscitated, I'd really like the cord left intact. Now, this is sometimes dependent on how long your cord is and what they need to do. But again, if I can advocate for it and it's possible, I'd like the cord to be left intact. And this is because this keeps baby connected to the placenta, which is an oxygen supply. So it's basically like a little mini life support system while they're being resuscitated. Makes so much sense. Maintains blood flow to the heart. Makes sense. It also, though, reduces brain bleeding risk and mortality rates, decreases the need for further interventions later on, and means the baby will have better long-term iron stores. And again, this is just a few of the benefits. Anything I can do to support the baby, I'm here for it. And as I said earlier, when the baby's on your chest in that golden hour, it helps continue that oxytocin flow, which should help you naturally birth the placenta. But this can take up to an hour, and some people can get impatient, or some people can heavily bleed. So ideally, I'd like to avoid the synthetic oxytocin or like them pulling the umbilical cord to progress this quicker. I would like to birth it naturally. However, if I start getting really heavy bleeding and there's concerns, then I will look to consider like another option. The reason I want to keep this as natural as possible is because it means I won't get any side effects from the drugs. I'm less likely to get after pains postpartum, and it won't interrupt the skin to skin, which is really important to me. Also for the baby, it's all the benefits that they would get from having that skin to skin with me. It can take up to an hour. If there's any risk, I'll consider it, but hopefully my placenta will just come out. I'll just flat away. Then the last part of this is just, if I have to have a cesarean for whatever reason, I hope it's a planned cesarean and it's not emergency cesarean, because obviously that will be completely different. But if it's a planned cesarean that I some reason have to have, I want a really calm environment, like I've discussed for my home birth. So I want lower lighting, I want music, I want a calm atmosphere, so it feels like a lovely environment for the baby to come into. Now, the rest of this is known as like a natural gentle cesarean, and the idea behind it is, how can we emulate a vaginal birth as much as possible within a cesarean world? So I'd like the screen to be a little bit lower, so I don't want to watch myself being cut open because I thought it would freak me out, but just so I can see the baby being lifted out. That feels really important because that's what you'd naturally be able to do if you were birthing the baby vaginally. I would like the baby to be taken out slowly and gradually. Again, this is more for the baby baby's like well-being, I want the head and body to emerge gradually, because the baby doesn't just get pulled out of your vagina. So I don't want it to just be pulled out of my stomach and be shocked into the world. I want it to feel like it's gradually getting there, like it would through the birth canal. I want skin to skin whilst the surgery on me is being completed. But before the surgery is completed, I do want the white floppy cord and the delayed cord clamping, and James to be able to cut the cord. Just this is all about like enhancing bonding, promoting breastfeeding success, calm transition for the baby, everything just to feel a little bit nicer. And again, I still want the colostrum fed to them. If I can't breastfeed, I do not want them to be having like formula through a bottle. The list actually feels really long, and I've probably babbled on, and it probably feels really, I don't know, medical. Is this a medical? I don't know. I just think it's so interesting to hear what other people's choices are. Like even in our antenatal classes, I can already see we're all going for quite different births. And yeah, I would find a video like this interesting, so I thought I'd do it for me. And I'm interested to see, one, how this changes before the baby comes, but two, like what actually happens on the day. Like, did all of this go out the window, or I don't know, it'd just be very, very interesting. So yeah, tonight I'm going to put this all into the Badger app, which is the maternity app that we have here in the UK. And then yeah, on Wednesday we're going to go through it with my midwife, so I'll do an update after that. But me and James feel really good about this at the moment, and this has all been guided by the benefits for me and the baby, and for James as well. So fingers crossed, most of it we can advocate for, but watch this space.